Hello. Working now. Good to see everyone. We're missing several smiling faces because it is that time of year, vacations, and I heard from several that are gone this week, including our past president, enjoying some family time, quality time. I support that. I encourage everyone to do that. I think it's the best medicine ever, just to get away for a few days, and do something different, and relax and recharge. But it's so good to see everyone that's here. We have a few on Zoom. Unfortunately, we don't have the photos to share with you since our leader with social media, Jordan's offsite with Robert. And we're appreciative that they took time out of their busy schedule to accommodate a Zoom meeting, since they are the experts. But Lasara, I'd say, is right up there. He came in here and Lasara was doing great. Thank you. Bill Lord, come up and
flag program is unchanged, but I can tell you, just as I worked at the hospital this morning driving a van, and so I was getting ready to leave, Rick Lindsay walked in, and Laura and I were able to visit with him for just a minute. He was vertical and moving, not very fast, but he was vertical and moving. And I told him we had been remembering him, so he was happy about that. So would you join me in the spirit of prayer? Eternal God, we give you thanks for the blessings of this day, for this club and its work in our community. We ask your spirit to be upon our work, to be upon us, to be upon this food that is set before us, to bless it and bless us to the nourishment of our bodies, and to keep us this day in your peace. In the name of the Christ, amen.
thank you so much.
Now we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Richard Raymond.
Would you please put your hand on your heart and repeat
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is it there?
No, it's not out there.
It's not
It's not
there.
out there. I was just gonna.
Yeah, it's here. Thank you, Neil. Thank you so much. And so Val's going to introduce our guest. Do we have any guests, Val?
The guest speaker is our guest today, Steve Howell.
Excellent. And Ryan's going to introduce him shortly. So thank you. We're delighted to have Steve with us today. So at this time, as we have been doing, we're going to highlight a member. And this week, we're going to highlight the Director of Programs, Ryan Manny, and then he will introduce the speaker. Thank you, Ryan.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. Appreciate that. So for those of you here in virtual, welcome. My name is Ryan Manny. I have a quick question for you. Has anyone ever felt the symptoms of burnout? Anyone felt that? Just raise your hands. Anybody felt burnt out every once in a while, right? Absolutely. Burnout is a terrible thing. It's one of those things that it's an absolute kryptonite for people's talents. And it's actually very toxic for your health. I've been blessed over my career to be involved in medicine, from ophthalmology to ENT, working with physicians and surgeons around the country. And I've met with a lot of very talented physicians. And burnout is something that affects a lot of physicians, ironically enough. Physicians spend all this time going to school, learning about the body, learning about the different procedures and specialties that they want to go into. And they learn very little about business. And so when they go into private practice or they join a medical group, they often get misled. They get down different paths and get into areas they are very unfamiliar with. And there's a lot of burnout prevalent in medicine. The American Medical Association tracks burnout across all physician specialties every year. And the percentages go up every year by 3 to 4%. Currently, for 2019, we all know 2020 was a very unique year. But in 2019, up to 45% of physicians exhibit more than half of the signs and symptoms of burnout. So for myself, being in medical, meeting a lot of great physicians, I've used all the things that I've learned from corporations and training and development, leadership, and playing professional golf, use all those different things to partner with physicians so that I can maybe avoid burnout with those physicians and help them lead successful practices, bring their talents to the market and to the communities, and help people get well. And so that's what I do. I'm an independent consultant working with private practices throughout the Metroplex and a couple of different parts of the country. Part of my purpose in joining Rotary is being about 3 years into joining Irving. I did not know a lot about this city other than how convenient and awesome it was to the airports and of course to the music factory, and having all these golf courses nearby was pretty awesome as well. But Rotary is helping me get to know the city better and help me understand how I can contribute to the city and make a positive impact. And so very glad to be here. Thank you, Madam President, for the opportunity to share my purpose with the group. So now what I want to do is introduce our guest speaker. And, everybody, Rotary organization, people are probably familiar with nonprofit organizations, right? By show of hands, who's familiar with running a nonprofit organization? There we go. So we've all been involved. These nonprofit organizations have very near and dear purposes to serve the community. And more often than not, similar to regular business, nonprofit businesses have trouble building momentum. And so one of the things that I think is fascinating about our speaker today is that his organization works to help build momentum, help connect different nonprofit organizations with people that can help, with like-minded causes, with energy and publicity to help these nonprofit organizations exist. So our speaker today is Mr. Steve Allen, when he is his primary role is as pastor of Christ Church here in Irving. But what he also does is he's the president of Irving, ICAN, Irving Community Action Network. I apologize. Yeah. But what's fascinating about what Steve's work is that he represents over 42 different nonprofits, helping those nonprofits to connect with like-minded resources, like-minded people, so that those nonprofits can build that precious momentum that they need to bring their gift to the community. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Mr. Steve Allen.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you all for allowing me to come and speak today. I hate to do this because, even though we just met a couple of weeks ago, Ryan seems like a good guy, but I've got to call you out because I am a pastor. I'm actually the pastor of discipleship and group life at Christ Church, but it's dangerous to let a pastor speak and not give him a time frame. And so I'm taking for granted I have like 40, 45, 50 minutes to deliver my message today. Actually, I'm just kidding. I know better than that, so I'll jump right into it. But so a couple of things happened back at the beginning of 2020 that affected my life in a big way. But I was asked to join the board for the Irving Community Action Network, ICAN. And Ruby Sevchik, who's the executive director of Crisis Ministries, that many of you probably know, I think she's spoken here before. She asked me to join, and asked me to join as treasurer, and I was like, Ruby, I'm not a treasurer, but out of our friendship and loyalty to her, I joined in there. And then a year later, she stepped back to work in some other areas and asked me if I would step in as president. And I told her the other day that I'm holding her responsible for that. But anyways, it's been tremendous. But what happened really at the beginning of 2020 was I'm not from Irving. I'm like Ryan, I'm not from Irving. I've been here for about 8 years. I'm on my second marriage. Me and my current wife are, and she lived here, and we met about 8 years ago and moved here, a couple of years after that, once we decided to get married and everything, and have grown to love this city and everything about it. And but I wasn't real familiar with it. And at the beginning of 2020, I was asked to do not just my role with groups and discipleship at Christ Church, but also to take over benevolence and community engagement. And it's been quite a ride since then, because a few months later, of course, COVID hit and everything turned upside down. And jumping into ICAN at that point, I began to meet and be connected with so many individuals, great individuals and great nonprofits and faith-based organizations that do the work that they do here in Irving. And that opened up other doors. God has a way of working even through the rough times that COVID had brought us. And even though 2020 was a horrible year for many, for Christ Church, it allowed for us to jump up and to help folks like we never had before. And a lot of that was because of the connections that we made in the Irving Community Action Network. As we began to meet other nonprofits and partner with other churches, we were already connected on a certain level, but we began to see work that was being done that we didn't even know was going on right under our nose. We connected with great organizations like Level Pathways that work with teen homelessness. And yes, teen homelessness is a big thing here in Irving. We met Michelle Flores at All Things Made New, who mentor lower income families, the kids, 4th grade and above, and does tremendous work. We dived in a partnership deeper than ever with Crisis Ministries. We needed help to figure out, because so many people were coming at that point by March of that year and asking for help, that it was hard to know who to help and who not to help. And partnering with an organization like Crisis Ministries allowed for us to be able to know what questions to ask, to make sure we're helping people that need help and not folks that just are looking for a handout. And so that was tremendous. But there's others. The main place, we were already working with Irving Cares, but we stepped up even more. And it was quite an experience. The best way to illustrate that is a young lady named Ashley, a parent of 2 kids. Another young lady by the name of Victoria, she has 3 kids. Maria, she has a couple of kids. They were all living in extended stay hotels. They all had jobs, and then COVID hit. And like at that point, everything shut down. And these single moms who were making maybe $14, $15, if that, an hour, and barely making ends meet, definitely living paycheck to paycheck. Once that paycheck stopped, there was nothing else for them. There were no other jobs. Everything was shutting down. And folks don't realize how close that we were. I'm sure beyond Irving, but definitely in Irving, because of the number of families that live in extended stays, paycheck to paycheck, that were this close to homelessness because they didn't have an income. And if it wasn't for the quick thinking of some of the great folks here in Irving and putting 2 and 2 together and reaching out to nonprofits, to churches, to organizations, those families, those ladies and their families would have ended up on the street. But because of partnerships that we had developed through ICAN, they called Christ Church, and we were able to help them. And 2 out of those 3 families, not only were we able to help them to stay housed, but we got them out of an extended stay into an apartment where they live right now, taking care of themselves, paying their own rent. They just needed some help to kind of bridge that gap. And the partnerships that we made through ICAN were a big piece of that. And then there's also Ariette and Bianca and Karen. Bianca, who had 3 kids, a single mom, And one of her kids lived in a room, or two of her kids lived in a room that the window was broken. She didn't know how to fix it. She didn't have the resources to fix it. And there was a mold in the room because of moisture. And so we heard about that need, and Christ Church was able to come in, partner with All Things Made New, and help this family replace their windows so that their kids didn't have to live like that. Partnerships, collaboration. That's what ICAN is all about. We are a part of helping organizations and individuals to collaborate, to work together. And that's not easy these days. I mean, we all know the problems going on in our world right now. We can't hardly have a conversation with some people and sit down and have a civil discussion, much less get organizations to work together. That's difficult. We have this silo mentality. And as bad as it is for nonprofits, it's the same way with churches. And so bringing these groups together has been a challenge. Now, fortunate for me, a lot of the groundwork was laid before I came on board as president at the beginning of this year. But what it's allowed us to do is to step up the amount of work that we do, to step up the amount of collaboration. And it's just been incredible to see all the things that I believe God has done through our organization and working through these 42 different nonprofits and churches and faith-based organizations. To give you a really good illustration of what ICAN does, I want to tell you about some stuff that we have coming up. Now, yeah, we have monthly meetings. We meet the fourth Monday of every month. We have different guest speakers come in and speak on different topics. Some of them to help, like this month, is someone coming in to help the nonprofits themselves. Some of it is for education. Some of it is just to let people know what's going on in Irving, among other groups. But a big part of that collaboration, of an engagement, of education, that are the reasons why ICAN exist, okay, is what's leading us to do this. And so on September 15th, actually, we'll be hosting a case manager networking workshop. We'll be reaching out to about 100 different nonprofits. We hope to have 30 there, and I think 30 will be easy. And we're asking for them to bring their case managers. And the whole idea is to get the case managers to talk, to share what's working, to share where they're being challenged at, and just to get to know each other on a deeper level. The more we communicate with one another, especially in this day and age, the more we can learn from one another. And then we can figure out, maybe we can partner with folks in different areas. And so that's that case manager networking workshop. But the big piece of that is we're wanting that event to feed into this next event. We want to tell the case managers that are there to get to their people, to let them know that on October 10th, ICAN will be having a community fair in South Irving. Down close to the corner of 6th Street and Story, there's a park-like property. And we hope to have 15 to 20 nonprofits, along with other things. And the goal is to help these nonprofits get their services directly to the people. One of our organizations is Community Council of Greater Dallas. Their offices are down on Mockingbird in Dallas, Mockingbird and 35. Another one is called Services of Hope, that's located in Irving. Of course, we all know Irving Cares. They're over on Nursery, close to Irving Boulevard. But sometimes it's hard to get folks that need the help the most connected to that help. And so our hope is by having these sort of organizations at this community fair on the front lines, we'll make it easier for the folks in the neighborhood to come on over. We'll have food, so grab a hot dog, let the kids go hang out at the bounce houses or whatever, and then they'll be able to talk to people and hear the services, to find out that they may be making $12 an hour right now, but they can connect with Community Council of Greater Dallas, and they can help you get job training. They can help you get a CDL license. They can help you get warehouse training. And it doesn't cost you a dime. All it costs is your time and your commitment. And you can get into a job that's going to help you get a living wage, or even better, a career. And so getting those resources to the people is a big piece of it also. We're hoping to have Baylor Scott and White, the Irving Community Clinic there, to check people's blood pressures, to do health screenings, to get the medical resources there for the folks in the neighborhood and to keep them from having to come to the hospital because they're able to catch those problems before they ever heat up, if you will. And so we have the case manager networking workshop that feeds into the community fair, okay? And then the next piece that feeds into is a parenting workshop sponsored by Family Promise and from All Things Made New. And so those two organizations piloted a program, a 6-week program that they did back in May that was hugely successful. They looked around and noticed that a lot of the folks that they're helping are lower income Hispanic speaking folks, okay? And so they brought them together, a lot of single moms, and helped them to get to know each other and to become better equipped to parent and to find the resources that were available out there. And it was a tremendous success. Relationships were developed that continue even a few months later, okay? That's the goal. We want to offer that on a bigger level. And so as the 100 families, which is our goal for the community fair, as they come to that, they'll also get a flyer. They'll hear about, they can be a part of this parenting workshop to find help for what they need. If you're a single parent, you know this, but being a single parent this day is incredibly difficult. Just taking care, if you've got a college degree, if you've got a good job, it's difficult. But making things meet otherwise, making ends meet when you were struggling to even keep a roof over your head, man, and they don't have much support. We want to give them that support. All of those events involved multiple organizations. We've got, like I said, 30 nonprofits we're hoping to have at the case manager workshop, 15 to 20 nonprofits at the community fair, and then multiple nonprofits that are sponsoring the parenting workshop. That's what ICAN is all about.
When is the parenting workshop?
The parenting workshop is going to be on October the 16th and the 23rd. So the community fair is on the 10th. The parenting workshop is the 16th and the 23rd. And one hopefully will feed into the other. And we hope to do this multiple times a year. But we're working to bring our nonprofits together to get them to work together and to partner together and to figure out how we can better get the resources to the community to help the lower income in Irving. That's what ICAN is all about. Now, I'll close with just sharing how you can help partner with us. You are welcome to, we have a number of individuals that are just active in the community that are members of ICAN that come to our meetings and hear what's going on, find out about like A21 that deals with sex trafficking and human trafficking. They're bringing an office to Irving, a place to help folks that are escaping that, because evidently Irving is a central location for human trafficking right now. I had no idea that until just a few weeks ago. You can come to one of our meetings and hear about organizations like that and hear what they do. So partner with us. But honestly, it's not just about partnering. I'm going to tell you there's two ways. And I'm not here to fundraise for ICAN. We don't fundraise because it's not about us. I'm not here to tell you come be a part of Christ Church because it's not about us. It's about helping these groups that have boots on the ground that are making a difference in our community. And so the biggest way you can help us is to volunteer, is to, if you own a business or through your connections, to get the word out about ICAN and the organizations that are members so that your friends, your relatives can volunteer and help those folks do the work that they do, or by connecting with those organizations and then helping them financially. Help them to be able to help even more people than they're already helping with greater finances. And so that's how you can do that. Our website is icanirving.org. And if you go to that website, you're going to see a spot on there where if someone's looking for help, they can simply select that. And if they're homeless, if they're veterans, if they're looking for a job, if they're from another country, if they need medical services, they're going to click on that button. They're going to see that category somewhere, and then all the different nonprofits that offer services in those areas. I've got some posters over here, and if you have the ability to hang a poster somewhere, there's a QR code, which I don't know if you're familiar with QR codes. I just think it's magic. But anyways, you just take your phone and you put your phone on there like you're taking a picture, and it takes you to our website, to that place on our website that lists all the organizations and what they do. And so if you want to be a part of helping us make a difference in the lives of the community here around us, the folks that make Irving such a great place to live, then join us. We'd love to have you. I don't know if that time-wise was okay, but
well, I certainly enjoyed the presentation, and it's always good to try to gain resources and opportunities to help make a difference with someone's quality lifestyle. And sometimes we forget how blessed we are, and there are people definitely sideways. And thank you, Steve. Appreciate your efforts. Okay, for closing comments, we will have a meeting next week here at the Las Colinas Country Club. Our next board meeting will be August the 5th at 1:00 p.m. And then, does anyone have any announcements or comments you would like to share? Okay, I think we're ready for the four-way test, and Mr. Robert Nelson will lead us in that.
Join me in the four-way test. Things you can't say. First, is true. Second, is fair all concerned. Third, will build goodwill and better friendships. Fourth, will be beneficial to all concerned.
Thank you, everyone, for coming, and I hope to see you next week.